Harold Dean Walker.
And where are you from, Harold?
I'm originally from Claiborne County, but I've been in Blount County since 1943.
Okay, so you went to school in Blount County.
Yes, I did.
And where did you go to school?
Everett High School most of the time.
Okay, good. And then, when did you join the military?
I joined the military about 1953, so the Tennessee Army Guard over on Perm Hill. So I was from 53 to 58.
Okay. And so that was the Guard. When did you go on active duty?
I went on active duty in 1956.
Okay, so just after the Korean War.
Yeah, right after.
And what was your job in the military?
My job first at MOS was a Browning automatic rifleman, but they were looking for musicians when I went to Korea, and luckily they found out on my 201 file that I played a bass horn in high school, so I became a member of the 1st Cavalry Division Army Band. At first it was the 24th Infantry, then they switched from the 24th to the 1st Cavalry.
Okay, so let's back up just a little bit. So you're a musician.
Yes.
So how did you learn to play music?
I started when I was about 12 years old out on Lincoln Street in Alcoa. I happened to be Jack Green's next door neighbor who got on the Grand Ole Opry. Jack Cake was also a guitar player. He played with Don Gibson, who got on the Grand Ole Opry. So Jack and I, we all played together, and I started about the age 12. And
okay.
I played for years with Tommy Covington here in Blount County.
Wow. Okay, so now we're back into the Army.
Yes.
And you're a musician. So tell us what is that process to become a musician? I mean,
well, it started at Everett High School when I was a freshman, and I became a member of the band, and I was in the band at Everett High School for 4 years. Mm-hmm. My last senior year, I was the drum major, and so I didn't play as much as I did lead the band. But then when I went into military service, I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and I tried out for the band, but they did not need bass horn players. And they made a note of that, I guess. So when I went to Korea, they did need bass horn players. So I learned playing the guitar at age 12 on my own, and then I learned in high school to play a sousaphone.
Okay. So in the military, what was it like being a musician? I mean, tell us what your days were like.
Well, most of the time we was in a steel Quonset hut, and it's not very well insulated, and there's a lot of noise in the band, the brass band especially. But we would play on AFKN, which is the Armed Forces Korean Network. That was from 56 to 57 and 58, and they would broadcast that once a week to the troops in the field. And of course, our band did that for all time. And then every parade we had, they would do the parades for the field artillery. Anybody, I rode in some helicopters that had these double rotors on them. I still don't know what they are, but that'd take 3 of them to carry one band. And we took 3 out one day at the 191st Field Artillery, I think it was, and one of them hit a guy wire, ruined a rotary. One of them hit a tourniquet on the tank and ruined it. So we actually wound up with one helicopter to ferry everybody back. And I crossed Freedom Bridge several times going to Paramount John, because every time a dignitary would come in, we'd go up there and play for him.
Wow. And did you ever play on any ships?
I played the guitar on the ship, because I learned that here, so I took advantage of that because it was part of special services.
And what kind of ship were you on?
I was on the Mitchell and the Freeman.
And
troop ships.
Troop ships.
Yes.
So you entertained the troops.
Yes.
As they were coming or going and
coming and going.
And what were the troops? How did they respond to musicians? I mean, were they appreciative?
Well, they would respond to almost anything after being held up. And we had 4 bunks, and as best I remember in those ships, and we sometimes down. Some of us underwater, some of us in glove water, mid-water line. But those cots were real close together. They just hung on chains, and any entertainment was good for them. So we, great time.
And what style of music were you playing to the troops?
What?
What type of music were you playing?
Well, at one point at Fort Benning, Georgia, I was going through at Sand Hill. I've been to Tank Hill and Sand Hill. And at Sand Hill, I got in an all-Army contest down there in 1956, and with a fellow from West Virginia who played a fiddle. So we entered that contest. We did not win, but we did show. And I sang a song that I'd sang here in Blount County for a long time. He played the fiddle that he played in Virginia for a long time.
Did you meet any celebrities in the service that were also?
I did. I did when Red Skelton's son died. We had right on our division headquarters, right above where I was barracked in the band. We had the NCO club and the enlisted men's club. And believe it or not, Red Skelton, when his son died, he came over there and spent about a week with the 1st Cavalry Division at division headquarters. And I hate to say this, but I actually sat across the table drinking beer with him. He was a great guy.
And do you have any parades or any events that you performed at that really stand out, that impacted you? Anything like that?
I can tell you a little short story about a parade here in Maryville in 1954 when the Air Force was out at McGee Tyson.
Okay.
I was in the 114th, and I was not a truck driver. But they needed a truck driver because they were going to haul the Air Force from the airport over here to Maryville College to parade up Broadway in town. I had never drove a deuce and a half in my life, but I always sat in the back. And they called and said, "Walker, can you drive a deuce and a half?" I said, "I don't know if you show me how." So believe it or not, they printed me out a driver's license right over on Ferrum Hill. I got that truck, but it took me about 5 minutes to get it started, to get it down to Costner Eagleton on the Hall Road. But I hauled those Air Force boys back over here to Maryville College, scared them to death. And then I drove that truck up through the middle of Maryville about 1954. That's the biggest thing I ever got into.
Wow. So in Maryville in 1954, what was Maryville like? Was it a patriotic town?
Extremely patriotic. Maryville and Blount County is one of the greatest countries on this earth. And I back them 100%. And this courthouse is I back 100%.
Well, good. Any other stories about playing music in the service that you?
Not in the service.
Okay. So how were you discharged? Where were you discharged at?
Well, that's a long story, but this could be all wrong. I've told this story for years, but I liked about 90 days being ready to be discharged when I was in Korea. Somehow the word came down, if you extend your tour of duty to less than 90 days to serve, they'll meet the ship 5 days out of port in Seattle and you'll be discharged and go home. That did not happen in my case. I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky, served out all my time, but I had about 60 days leave time coming, so I spent very little time at Fort Knox.
Wow. And then when you were discharged, you came back to Maryville?
Yes.
And you continued playing music?
I did up until 1958. I played with Tommy Covington, who played here for years, and Tommy knew everybody. He knew Chester Atkins, he knew Roy Acuff, he knew them all. And Tommy also knew Dolly Parton, and I played on a program here with Dolly Parton. We've still got one musician in Blount County who plays occasionally, and that's Marvin Russell. And Marvin is still at it. Marvin is Tommy Covington's ex-son-in-law.
Wow. Well, and today, what does it feel like to be a veteran? And when people see your hat and they shake your hand, what does that? How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel good to do that. But I mean, I have done nothing special. I'm just returning what my uncles did, and my brother did, and everybody else did. My forefathers.
Well, every job in the military is special, and I'm sure you brought some good entertainment to troops when they really needed it.
We tried.
And
we did try.
That's very special. But we just want to thank you for this interview, and we're really proud of your service.
Thank you, sir.